Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Baum, Campbell, Camper, Cochran, Faison, Garrett, Hawk, Hazelwood, Love, Moon, Shaw, Whitson, Williams, Chairman Hicks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee for March the 8th, 2023. Members, are there any personal orders before we begin? And I do have one quick announcement. I'd like to recognize some folks here. Would our chiefs and firefighters from across the state, if you are in here, would you please stand and let us recognize you? Please stand. Thank you all very much for your patience, and thank you all for being here. Chairman Whitson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to recognize some good folks in the audience today. They're fierce advocates for the disability community, and that's my good friends Janet Schaus, Valerie Bayham, my daughter-in-law, Emily Whitson, and most of all, my bride of 49 years, Pam Whitson. Would you stand up and say hi? No, she won't.
Thank you all for being here. Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm so excited I saw Chairman Whitman's wife that she did not do anything that he said this morning. So we appreciate it. Never has. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to recognize who's also here with Vanderbilt, one of my constituents, Darren Shipley. He's back there in the back. Please make him feel welcome. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for being here. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have some Signal Mountain firefighters. I'm not sure they're in the room right now, but they are somewhere on the premises. Also, Hamilton County Sheriff Austin Garrett is right outside the door. There he comes. So join me in making him welcome.
All right, further announcements or personal orders? None? All right. We have a total of 34 bills on our calendar today, and we're going to go out of order as we begin. I know Chairman Eldridge is here, and he needs to go chair a committee, so we're going to get him first. Members, if you'll go to item number 25. Again, item number 25. Item number 25 is going to be House Bill 755 by Representative Eldridge. You do have a motion to second, sir. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you. This is asking that section of 66, Highway 66 there in Hamlin and Jefferson counties be designated scenic highway, and that's what it's doing, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative Eldridge. Members, any discussion? Not quite. There is a fiscal note that is associated with House Bill 755. I do appreciate that, but nice try. But we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 755 goes behind the budget.
Thank you all.
All right, we're going to begin now, members. If you'll go back to the very beginning, item number 1 on your calendar is going to be House Bill 1215 by Chairman Rudd. I have a request here to roll that 1 week. So without objection, House Bill 1215 rolled 1 week. That brings, okay. We were going to go ahead and grab item 15, but I don't see Chairman Rudd, so we will move right along with item number 2. Item number 2 is going to be Chairman Haston. I see him back there. House Bill 983. Sir, you have a motion to second. You are recognized for a brief description, and give me just a second to get on the right page here. I do see you have an amendment traveling with this bill. 4840 is what I have. Is that correct? Oh, it's not traveling. We do need to adopt. I'm sorry. And it does rewrite the bill. So you have a motion to second on the amendment. Let's go ahead and get this amendment on, and then we will let you have the floor. Members, any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment Drafting Code 004840 onto House Bill 983. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad to present this bill on behalf of Speaker Sexton. Currently, Tennessee teachers have had to use sick leave days and vacation days to take parental leave for a new child. This legislation would guarantee the payment of the teacher's salary for a 6-week period if they qualify in the event of a birth, adoption, or stillbirth of a child. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Haston. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 983. Any discussion? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 983, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 983 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 3. Item number 3 is Speaker Marsh in here with us. I don't see him, so without okay, so he will be here shortly. So without objection, we will roll him to the Hill. Item number 4 is also by Speaker Marsh. We will also, without objection, roll this one to the Hill. That brings us to item number 5. Item number 5 is going to be House Bill 31 by Chairman Doggett. I've seen him. You have a motion to second. You are recognized, sir.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is having a fabulous day. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have with me, if you would allow me to introduce a shadow that is following me today, Miss Faith Hirschler. You want to stand up?
All right. Let's welcome her.
Yes. She is with the Tennessee Eagle Forum, the Student Eagles, and you may know another young lady, Miss Bobby Petray. I don't know if you've met her or not, but she's sitting out here in the crowd. She does this every year, and so I'm honored to have a shadow with me today. But now we're ready to talk about House Bill 31. House Bill 31 prohibits probation for any person who has been convicted of rape.
All right. Members, you have heard the description of House Bill 31. Any discussion? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 31, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 31 goes behind the budget. That brings us to item number 6 on our calendar. Item number 6, also by Chairman Doggett, House Bill 702. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Sir, you are recognized, and it looks like there's an amendment, drafting code 004701. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
All right. We have a motion to second on the amendment. Let's get the amendment on. Any discussion on drafting code 004701? Seeing none, we're now going to put that amendment onto House Bill 702. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended, and you're recognized.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. What we are doing is enhancing the punishment for the sale, manufacture, delivery of, and possession with the intent to sell, manufacture, deliver fentanyl and fentanyl analogs from a Class C felony to a Class B felony for any amount 0.5 grams or more, but less than 15 grams, and for any amount less than 0.5 grams if a weapon was involved or if the offense resulted in death or bodily injury to another person. And so we're all very familiar with fentanyl and the analogs. It's been a terror across this state, so we're hoping to address that. And I want to thank the District Attorney General's Conference for their help in this, and along with Chairman Powers, who is helping me with this bill as well.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Doggett, for this description. Members, any discussion? Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Doggett, for this bill. I think it was interesting. This committee had an opportunity to hear in budget hearings earlier this week about the number of young people whose lives have been taken by fentanyl. I was surprised to see that year over year, there were 1,700 Tennesseans who lost their lives, and the following year in 2022, there were 3,700 people who lost their lives to overdose of fentanyl-laced drugs or fentanyl itself. And so appreciate the bill. It's very timely. I would take the opportunity to say that most of which is coming over our southern border. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. Further discussion on House Bill 702? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Sponsor, for bringing this forward, and I certainly do appreciate all the hard work you're putting into it as well as the others that you mentioned. But it does have a cost associated with this piece of legislation, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date.
Thank you.
Without objection, House Bill 702 behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 7. Item number 7 is House Bill 708, also by Chairman Doggett. You have a motion second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you so much. So currently we have training supplements for law enforcement officers and other groups, professional groups across the state. We're seeking to add the county or the local correctional officers into that. Once they complete their 40-hour in-service training through the Tennessee Corrections Institute, they have to do that every year. They'd be eligible for this $800 training supplement, which would greatly help with the retention and even recruitment for correctional officers in our local jails.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Doggett, for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 708? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. You're right. We're having a lot of problems with morale and retention, and I know there's a cost associated with it, but as we move forward, we do know that there are, a lot of surplus dollars, and maybe we can work to help get this funded because I think it's very much needed. So thank you for bringing this bill, Mr.
Thank you.
Sponsor.
Thank you, Leader Camper. Further discussion? Seeing none, House Bill 708 does have a fiscal cost, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 708 goes behind the budget.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, members, that brings us to item number 8. There's Chairman Farmer. Item number 8 on your calendar is going to be House Bill 1357 by Chairman Farmer. We have a motion second. You are recognized, sir.
Yeah, thank you, members, and I'm bringing this up before you. I guess about 10 years ago, we allowed for teachers that were assaulted during their scope of employment to receive benefits, not including workers' comp or any sort of disability benefits for 12 weeks. I'm bringing this bill that would extend that to no more than a year. So that's what this does.
All right, thank you very much, Chairman. Members, any discussion on House Bill 1357? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1357, so we will have to place it behind the budget at this time, and then we will reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1357 goes behind the budget. Brings us to item number 9. Item number 9 on our calendar is House Bill 1367, also by Chairman Farmer. Do we have a motion second? We have a motion second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have an amendment, 4503.
That one is traveling.
We'll travel with? Okay.
Good to
And
go.
this is brought to me by the Attorney General's office here. I guess last year, before last, time gets away, we passed the opioid abatement fund where those monies flow in from all those settlements. We're adding some new monies to that. There's some new settlements coming in, so it's going to increase a total of about $490 more million could go in that fund. So we're just adding some new folks in there on that.
Great. All right, members, you've heard the description on House Bill 1367. Any discussion? Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Just want to make sure, thank you for this, Chairman Farmer. Lots of work. You thought, I guess, it was going to end last year. But on this bill in particular, is it changing how the monies are distributed, the percentages as it relates to cities and counties, or anything as it relates to the makeup of the board that's making these decisions? Or is this just allowing for the additional pharmaceutical companies to be adjoined to the lawsuit?
Chairman Farmer.
Sure, and that's a great question, Chairman Williams. I'm glad you asked that. It does not change the makeup procedure at all. It just adds for Allegrin, Teva, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, and KBAT Foods to join this. So,
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Leader Camper. All right, thank you. Further discussion on House Bill 1367. Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 1367, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1367 moves to full finance.
thank you, Mr. Chair, Committee. Appreciate your time.
All right, item number 10 on our calendar is House Bill 1481 by Chairman Hulsey, and I have a request here to take this off notice. So without objection, House Bill 1481 is off notice. That brings us to item number 11. Item number 11 on our calendar is House Bill 896 by Chairman Hurt. You have a motion to second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 896 refers to the academic standards review cycle and the textbook extension. In 2016, the legislature, in partnership with the governor's office and the state board, undertook the replacement of Common Core state standards and put into place arguably the most transparent and thorough standards review input process in the country for English language arts, math, science, and social studies. At that time, the cycle was set for reviews once every 6 years. This legislation would extend the cycle to 8 years. With the pandemic and other considerations during that time, the increased workload for the Textbook and Instructional Materials Commission, as well as the need for teachers to get used to teaching the standards before they're substantially changed, the State Board of Education is seeking this change in the timeline going forward. The change is welcomed by districts as well as the Textbook and Instructional Materials Commission. If you notice the fiscal impact, it will actually decrease state expenditures over $100,000 and locals around $100,000 and locals around $16 million, which what we hope they'll redirect some of that local money toward early literacy. And with that, Mr. Chairman, any questions?
All right. Thank you, Chairman Hurt. Members, you've heard the description on House Bill 896. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 896, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 896 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
All right, moving right along to item number 12. Item number 12 on our calendar is House Bill 1382 by Chairman Reagan. You have a motion to second. You recognize, sir, for a brief description.
Mr. Chairman and committee, before I do that, as you can see, this has been through several committees before this one. However, I did discover a typo, and I would like to have an oral amendment. Do you want me to go through this before I ask for the oral amendment?
We don't accept any oral amendments in here, sir. Would you like to roll this a week and get it worked out, and you can bring it back?
I thought under the rules we could just correct typos. No?
Not in here.
In that case, request a roll.
All right. Members, you heard the request. House Bill 1382 has been requested to roll 1 week. Without objection, House Bill 1382 rolled 1 week. Brings us to item number 13 on our calendar. Item number 13 is going to be House Bill 1387, also by Chairman Reagan. You have a motion. Do we have a motion to second? Yeah. We have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I want to confirm this one is traveling with the amendment, correct?
You are correct.
Okay. This bill, as amended, basically creates a opportunity for the Chamber of Commerce to create a foundation to be defined as a nonprofit organization, and that nonprofit organization can then conduct charitable gaming events to aid the Chamber of Commerce in community identity events. As many of you are aware, you're probably members of your Chamber of Commerce. I belong to 2 of them, and they frequently sponsor events but have difficulty getting community involvement. This will allow them to hold a charitable event in addition to or in conjunction with one of their community involvement events and hopefully draw a larger crowd. With that explanation, I stand ready for questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Reagan. Members, you've heard the description on House Bill 1387. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1387, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1387 moves on to full finance. All right, brings us to item number 14 on our calendar, also by Chairman Reagan, House Bill 1415. Do we have a motion to second? You have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this bill is to exempt members of the Tennessee Air National Guard or Army National Guard from paying tax on the first $15,000 of a vehicle purchase. It gives back to those who willingly give everything for their country. For example, the 278th Armored Cavalry Regiment, which is part of the Tennessee National Guard, is one of only 2 such regiments in the United States Army. It has fought in every major conflict since the Spanish-American War, including 2 tours in Iraq following 9/11. During Operation Iraqi Freedom, 10 members did not return home to their families. Moreover, 8 were killed in action. The 134th Air Refueling Wing deployed to Iraq, Kuwait, Afghanistan. Members commonly deployed to Egypt, Germany, South Korea, Morocco, and during the Berlin crisis of 1962, this unit set an all-time record for the U.S. Air Force for jet fighters. Now they have tankers, but they were flying fighters then, with 836 hours. And that was before they have their current equipment. They are irreplaceable to Air Force operations, and they are gone from their families for extended periods of time. This bill seeks to reward those who take time away from their families as well as from their employers to serve their country. And in many cases, I'd like to point out that some of these members have been recommended by the Pentagon to seek food stamps because of the low reimbursement rate. This is simply a way for us to give back to them so that they can devote some of the resources, since an automobile is a necessity for employment as well as getting to their training. With that explanation, I stand ready to answer questions.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Reagan. Members, you've heard the description on House Bill 1415. Any discussion? And I'll say this. I know, first of all, Chairman, thank you for bringing this bill. I know you brought it last year, so I know it's something you're very passionate about. I've got a gentleman back in Northeast Tennessee, Larry Brown, who's also very interested in this. He's a veteran, and so I know this is an issue, and I certainly do appreciate you bringing this forward. Members, any discussion? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1415, so we will have to reconsider it at a later date. But until then, without objection, we will place it behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
Thank you, Chairman.
And I will be back with an amendment.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you. All right. Waiting patiently has been Chairman Rudd. Is he still waiting patiently? There he is. All right. Item number 15 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 504 by Chairman Rudd. You have a motion and a second, and I do believe you have an amendment that rewrites the bill. So let's get this amendment. Let's make sure we have the right amendment. Drafting code 005063.
That's it.
All right, we have a motion second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and get this on. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on the amendment drafting code 005063 onto House Bill 504. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are now back on the bill as amended, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. What this does is the professional privilege taxes. You know, we originally taxed 22 professions. We're now down to 7. The original bill would have eliminated those and phased them out over 4 years. This is a much more manageable and makes it easier for negotiations if that should be necessary during the budget. This would lower it to $20 million impact, and it would just simply lower it from $400 a year to $300 on the 7 remaining professions.
All right. Thank you very much, members. You've heard the description on House Bill 504. Any discussion? Seeing none, it does have a fiscal note associated with this piece of legislation, House Bill 504. So without objection, we will place House Bill 504 behind the budget. So without objection, so moved.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, that brings us to item number 16 on our calendar, and that's going to be by Chairman Zachary. Sir, you have a motion and a second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do have an amendment drafting code 4289.
That is traveling. Nope, hold on one second. Chairman, I do not have an amendment for that one, actually.
Are we on 1286 or 801?
We're on 1286. Let's, why don't we do this?
Yeah.
You want to roll this to the Hill, and then we'll go ahead and take up your next one. So without objection, let's roll House Bill 1286 to the Hill without objection. So moved. Let's go to item number 17. Item number 17 on our calendar is also by Chairman Zachary, House Bill 801. You have a motion second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Members, House Bill 801 simply reenacts the Proton Therapy Act of 2019 that unanimously passed. And with that, I'll be glad to take any questions.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 801. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 801, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 801 moves on to full finance. Give us just a second.
Okay,
here.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Zachary, how do you want to move forward as far with House Bill 1286? I do not have an amendment. If you're expecting one, we might be better off. Yeah, we don't. So I think it was a council amendment, and so we'll need you to file that in for this committee. And then we'll get in the proper posture next week, and then we'll be able to move forward. I think there is someone here that wanted to testify. So on this bill, I think they're in support of it. We can go ahead and get a motion to second, let them testify since they maybe have traveled. But it's your bill. And
yeah, that's unnecessary, Mr. Chairman. I want to present the bill. And so, yeah, if we can roll this a week, that'd be
all
great.
right. Without objection, House Bill 801 will be rolled 1 week. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the right one. Let's get on the right bill. House Bill 1286 will be rolled 1 week. Without objection, so moved. All right. Item number 18 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 355 by Representative Alexander. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized for a brief description.
I should say that with the microphone on. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee.
Thank you.
This bill, and it does have an amendment on it for 261.
And that is traveling, so you are in the proper posture.
All right. House Bill 355 is intended to increase access to medically necessary diagnostic and supplemental breast imaging by eliminating burdensome out-of-pocket costs for patients whose health insurer covers these services.
All right. Thank you very much for this description on House Bill 355. Members, any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. Looking at the people who signed on to it, it's a bipartisan effort, which I think is great. Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, you know, part of the responsibility of this body, this committee, is to just look at things that we believe is good for the state, good public policy, you know, to fund as we move through this. I think this is one of these when we get down to, you know, the deliberations as we go, to put some priority and precedence on a bill like this. It's not that much, and I know there'll be a lot of competing interests, but that's kind of the role of this committee, so I look to work with you all to try to help get something like this funded this year. So thank you for bringing the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leader Camper. Representative Alexander, any?
Thank you, Leader Camper.
All right, further discussion on House Bill 355? Seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 355, and I think we all look forward to working with you to try to get this one where it needs to go. So without objection, House Bill 355 will be placed behind the budget.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, members, let's back up to item number 3. Item number 3 on our calendar. That is going to... item number 3 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 392 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized, sir.
HB 392.
House Bill 392.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill deals with battery charge security fences used in the businesses across the country. We're trying to have some model legislation will require battery charge security fences to be regulated through the alarm system code when they meet certain requirements, including safety requirements. What we're talking about, these are alarm fences inside of a perimeter fence. So there has to be an outside fence around the perimeter. These fences go inside that, and they're charged by a 12-volt battery. So it's not a killing shock, but it is lets you know that you shouldn't be there kind of shock. And if you touch it, there's an alarm company called, and they come and find out who's breaking into their property. With that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Speaker Marsh. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 392. Any discussion? Seeing none. Leader Camper?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaker, thank you. When the alarm go off, like in Memphis, we have an alarm registration where any company that have an alarm system have to register. And when this alarm goes off, it sends something to the alarm monitoring organization. Are they going to be required to respond, or would it be the alarm system of the company that have the fence? Who would have to respond to this when this alarm goes off?
That's a good question, and it is the company, the owner of the company. When they touch this fence, the alarm goes off, and the company is notified, not the alarm system company. It is the private businesses notified, and so they take care of it.
Mr. Chairman.
Leader Camper.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So they're just registered with the city or whichever local municipality it is. They're just registered because there is an alarm system like everybody else that have an alarm.
That's the way
when
I
it goes.
understand
So if somebody gets shocked, something happens, they're laying on the ground, the company will have somebody respond, and then if there's some emergency action to take place, it'll be the responsibility of the alarm company that they contracted to monitor the system that would call 911 or whatever needs to happen.
Well,
you're recognized.
The way I understand it, if you touch this fence, there's an alarm that goes off for the owner of the property, not the alarm company, and then they deal with it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Further discussion? We are on House Bill 392. Seeing none, House Bill 392 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 392 goes behind the budget. All right, brings us to item number 4. Item number 4 on our calendars, House Bill 374, also by Speaker Marsh. We have a motion to second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is from the Secretary of State's office to transfer oversight of the fantasy sports from the Secretary of State's office to the Sports Wagering Advisory Council. With the passage of the Sports Gaming Act, it makes sense to move the regulatory oversight of fantasy sports to the Sports Wagering Council to take advantage of the efficiencies from centralized regulation of sports wagering. This bill does not create any new fantasy sports games. It does not expand sports wagering. It does not change the way the taxes are collected on fantasy sports. It only transfers the regulations of fantasy sports. With that, I'll answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 374. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 374, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it, and House Bill 374 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you,
Committee.
Speaker.
Thank you.
All right, members, we're going to go back to item number 19. Item number 19 on our calendar is House Bill 316 by Representative Bricken. You have a motion to second, sir. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. House Bill 316, I'm pleased to present, comes as an administration bill from our friends over at the Department of Financial Institutions. The bill, known as the Money Transmission Modernization Act, replaces the Tennessee Money Transmitter Act of 1994. It's a model act that we hope all states over the next several years will enact. It improves and provides uniformity of all the licensing and regulatory standards for this industry. And with that, also, I've been asked by our Bar Association to read for the record, so bear with me on this one. With respect to licensed attorneys in real estate transactions, it is the intent to apply House Bill 316 in a manner consistent with current law, which does not apply the licensing provisions under the Tennessee Money Transmitters Act to a licensed attorney that, in connection with a real estate property transaction, receives and disperses currency or issues an escrow or trust fund check on behalf of a party to a real estate property transaction.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative Bricken, for this description. Any discussion on House Bill 316? Seeing none and hearing none, we're now voting on House Bill 316, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 316 moves on to full finance. Brings us to item number 20. Item number 20 on our calendar, also by Representative Bricken. That will be House Bill 578. You have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. House Bill 578. This bill, as amended, simply removes the $100 application and processing fee for the enhanced handgun carrying permit. And by removing this fee, we should be encouraging our citizens to take the full 8-hour department's approved hand safety course. We have seen a drastic drop in our citizens taking the safety course. There was 87,000 2 years ago, only 16,000 took them last year. So taking this $100 fee away, which is approximately the cost of the safety course, hopefully will get our citizens to take the full course. And so I consider this a public safety bill, and I certainly would appreciate your approval.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative Bricken, for this description. Any discussion, members, on House Bill 578? Chair Lady Hazelwood.
I'd just like to thank the sponsor for bringing this bill. I think it's critically important as we deal with issues of constitutional carry and we make it easier for people to have guns in Tennessee. I just think it is incumbent upon all of us to try and make sure that people who have those guns know how to use them properly. So I thank the sponsor again for bringing this to our attention, and hopefully we'll find a way to cover the cost.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Yes, sir, you're representing.
And just for the committee, this bill sunsets in 3 years. So certainly that would give time to see, hopefully, the effect of removing the fee. Hopefully will increase the number of courses. It certainly also reduces the fiscal impact, too. So thank y'all.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Members, any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none, as it has already been alluded to, House Bill 578 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 578 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Representative. All right, waiting patiently, we're on item number 21, Representative Bolso, House Bill 239. We have a motion and a second on House Bill 239. We have a motion and a second. And, sir, it looks like there is an amendment also that has been filed, drafting code 004721. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let's go ahead. Do we have a motion and second on the amendment? We have a motion and second, and I'll let you describe the amendment if you'd like to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment is strictly technical in nature.
Okay. Well, you want to go ahead and just get it on the bill, and then you can describe the whole thing. All right. Members, any discussion on the amendment drafting code 004721? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now putting that amendment onto House Bill 239. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, this is a bill that seeks to amend Section 1-3-105 of our Tennessee Code to provide a definition for the term sex. Sex is a term that's used in our code and in our rules a total of 275 times. This proposed legislation defines one's sex as one's immutable biological sex as determined by anatomy and genetics at the time of birth. With that, Mr. Chairman, we'd move its passage.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative Bolso. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 239. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 239, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 239 will be placed behind the budget. Thank you, Representative. Item number 22 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 166 by Representative Butler. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 166.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairman and Committee. So this bill provides sick time and leave for our state employees only that are serving in our National Guard or any other armed forces. And so if they are deployed and currently a state employee, then they would be entitled to accumulate sick time and leave. And there's some discrepancies in the code right now. And so this bill would actually clean that up and clear it up and make it a point that we take care of our military veterans and our folks serving in our country.
All right. Thank you, Representative Butler. Members, you have heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 166? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 166, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 166 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Committee.
That brings us to item number 23. Item number 23, also by Representative Butler, House Bill 311. We have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
So this legislation actually just encourages the state to strive for at least 5% of their contracts to be awarded to veteran-owned businesses. It doesn't make it a requirement. It's just a goal. So with that, I renew my motion and take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Representative Butler. Members, you've heard the description on House Bill 311. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 311 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later day. So without objection, House Bill 311 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Committee.
All right. Thank you. All right. Item number 24 on our calendar. Item number 24 is going to be House Bill 409 by Representative Clemens. Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill seeks to eliminate the sales tax on fresh fruit and vegetables.
You have a motion second. You're recognized.
Thank you. We're seeking to eliminate the sales tax on fresh fruit and vegetables that are sold for human consumption. Right now in the state of Tennessee, 38% or more of Tennessee children are overweight or obese. We're sixth in the nation, the highest rate of childhood obesity. 13.6% of Tennessee adults have diagnosed diabetes as of the last data I saw. Diets high in fruits and vegetables reduce the risk of many chronic diseases such as type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and stroke. As you know, our state spends a great deal of money on health care, dealing with these illnesses that in many instances can be prevented, making sure that everyone has equal access and opportunity to have fresh fruits and vegetables in their diet is a worthwhile cause. I understand this piece of legislation has a fiscal note on it, the reason I'm before you today. But I would say this is one of those pieces of legislation where every dollar that we spend or forego in the state of Tennessee will result in many more dollars in savings in the long run. So with that, I would ask for your adoption of this legislation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Representative Clements. Members, you have heard the description on House Bill 409. Any discussion? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Representative. Quick question: would this be considered like all unprepared food, or is it just fruits and vegetables?
So it's fruits and vegetables.
Okay, so if you had I carried a similar bill before, but the fiscal note just looks dramatically more, and I just wondered why that was the case. But I appreciate that. I think you're right. I think fruits and vegetables and unprepared food would be a good way to do it. It's just very expensive to do that, but I appreciate the bill, and you answered my question.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Clements, for bringing this bill. I agree with Chairman Williams. I'm thinking maybe to help with the fiscal note, we could consider maybe taking the canned fruits out, and that'll help bring it down. And it may also encourage a lot of these local grocery stores, small corner stores. It may encourage them to carry more fresh fruits and vegetables. So if we are able to give people more access to fresh fruits and vegetables, they're more inclined, to eat them and buy them and have them in their homes. And when they go by the corner store, they may grab a banana or may grab an apple. So I support the bill. We'll continue to try to work to get the fiscal note down. Good bill. I appreciate you bringing it.
Thank you, Leader. And yeah, the canned fruits issue is something that was debated, and I certainly appreciate that suggestion. We had an issue with some impoverished Tennesseans, that ability to be able to store that food who may not have access or, refrigerated services or something like that. So it's the perishable nature of those, and to increase the equitable access to those was the reason I left that in there. But I'm certainly open to any and all suggestions and happy to work with the committee to that end. And there are other ways, I recognize, as you said, to help to address this problem. We can adopt policies to ensure fruits and vegetables in many ways. Some of that's improving access to stores and markets where we have grocery deserts or food deserts. We can, increase farm to institutional programs, initiatives, and a lot of communities have across the state of Tennessee, for which they should be applauded. But this is just one other way, I think, to make it more accessible. When it's a cheaper option than a fast food restaurant, it's always preferable. So I appreciate this committee's consideration.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Clements. Leader Camper. All right. Further discussion on House Bill 409. Seeing none and hearing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 409, and as it has already been stated, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 409 goes behind the budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, members, that brings us to item number 26 on our calendar. Item number 26 is going to be House Bill 585 by Representative Gant. You have a motion and a second. And you do have an amendment that rewrites the bill, drafting code 004416. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. We'll get that put on first. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Let's put this amendment onto House Bill 585. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended, sir, and you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This deals with the professional privilege tax that attorneys, stockbrokers, financial planners, broker-dealers, and lobbyists continue to pay. As you recall, last year we took doctors off completely. This legislation phases the $400 out over the next 3 years, or actually 4 years, I'm sorry, where it would end on May 31st, 2027. And this, if you're a licensed profession that is a resident of the state of Tennessee, this would pertain to you. And it would phase it out May 31st, 2027.
All right. Thank you, Representative Gant, for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 585? Chairman Moon.
I'm sorry, Leader Camper. Just for clarification, I heard the word a Tennessee resident licensed.
That is
So
correct.
if I'm a stockbroker from Ohio, there's still a mechanism in place to remit to the state?
This only applies to a licensed Tennessee resident.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Leader Gant, is this taking out like all the remaining professional taxes, fee that we have on all the remaining occupations?
Yes, ma'am. The remaining professions I'll list that are attorneys, stockbrokers, financial planners, broker-dealers, and lobbyists.
And those are the only ones that
That's
are
the only
left,
ones
and so
left.
we're addressing that because we've gotten rid of the, it was like 40 some odd at one point. Okay, thank
That
you,
is
Mr.
correct.
Chairman.
All
Thank
right.
you, Leader Gant.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, there is a small cost associated with this piece of legislation, so we will have to place it behind the budget and reconsider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 585 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you, Representative. All right, item number 27 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 700 by Representative Glenn. Do we have a motion to second? You have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee. House Bill 700, continuing on with taking care of our men and women in uniform, simply just gives us the second license plate back. We once had this plate back in 2014, and some reason it was taken away. So all this bill does is bring us back to 2 license plates for our disabled veterans.
All right, thank you, Representative, for this description on House Bill 700. Members, any discussion? Yes, sir, Chairman Moon, you're recognized.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can you, disabled veteran, it's 100% total and permanent?
Correct.
Just want to get that on the record. So, people with service-connected 10%, they don't qualify.
No, sir. This is only 100% disabled veterans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Moon. Further discussion? Seeing none and hearing none, House Bill 700 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 700 is behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee.
All right, thank you. Item number 28 is going to be House Bill 256 by Representative Raper. Do we have a motion to second? You have a motion to second on House Bill 256. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Last year, the General Assembly passed an important piece of legislation which the governor signed. It was a sales tax holiday on groceries for the month of September. Sales tax is a non-discriminatory tax that affects everyone regardless of socioeconomic status. We have so many residents in the state of Tennessee that live paycheck to paycheck. They struggle to pay for utilities, fuel, mortgage or rent, clothing, and especially food. I believe each representative in here wants to give back to taxpayers, as I myself do also, and obviously the governor feels the same way. The bill was created to give residents a 2-month break on sales tax with groceries. Recently, the governor stated that he was including in his budget proposal a 3-month sales tax on groceries. I want to compliment the governor for the foresight to give back to taxpayers included in his proposed budget. I would like, at this point, Mr. Chair, in light of the governor's intentions, I would like to take my bill off notice, and thank you very much.
All right, so members, you've heard the request from Representative Raper to take House Bill 256 off notice. So without objection, House Bill 256 is off notice. But before you run off, I believe you've got a guest with you. I'd like for you to introduce him.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee, by the way, for listening to my proposal. But my son, Nealon Raper, is here, and he is named after Neyland Stadium. But I'll give you the caveat. He is the director of football operations at the University of Georgia. So
I did notice the orange tie today, though.
Yes,
so.
I always wear my orange tie, so maybe it'll offset a little bit of that national championship he has. So anyway.
There you go. Thank you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for allowing me, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, item number 29 is House Bill 40 by Representative Reed. I'm sorry, before we do that, hold up. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize. I know I'm out of order, but I had Signal Mountain firemen who were outside. That's what I stepped out to say hello, and I just wanted to give a shout out to them. thank them and all the other firemen and emergency personnel, both volunteer and professional, who work really hard every day and every night in Tennessee to keep us safe. So thank you so much.
All right, item number 29 on our calendar today is going to be House Bill 40 by Representative Reedy, by Chairman Reedy. We have a motion to second. We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
And committee, as amended, prohibits sanctioned non-residential aliens, sanctioned foreign businesses, sanctioned foreign governments, or their agents, trustees, or fiduciaries from acquiring real property in Tennessee if their respective country is on the Office of Foreign Assets Control of the United States Department of Treasury's Sanctions Program and Country Information List. I stand ready for questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Chairman Reedy. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 40. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 40, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 40 goes behind the budget. Thank you, sir. All right, item number 30 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 323. We've got a request to roll this 1 week, so without objection, House Bill 323 is rolled 1 week. How about place that one real quick? All right, item number 31 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1452 by Chairman Faison. We have a motion to second. We have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description, sir.
Question on the bill.
Withdraw that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, this is a kind of a clarification bill. Last year, we passed a bill that made certain autoclaves, boilers possible for Tennessee hospitals. They wanted to be able to use certain boilers that only have access from the front. Tennessee Department of Labor has some issues with that, with inspecting it. So after dealing with Tennessee Department of Labor, we have decided to remove the responsibility of inspection of these boilers, autoclaves, from the Tennessee Department of Labor and just allow the federal government to oversee them.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1452. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1452, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1452 is behind the budget. All right, item number 32 on our calendars, House Bill 976 by Representative Garrett. We have a motion second. You got a motion second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I wanted to thank the chairman for recognizing the firemen that are in the room today that we appreciate, and they are here, I believe, because of this particular legislation. So committee, you all have probably seen this legislation. You most likely, I hope, if you're not already, you're a sponsor or a co-sponsor of this legislation. And let me tell you a little bit about what this does. So let me give you just a little bit of a background, so if you'd bear with me. This is called the James Dustin Samples Act. And if you haven't heard James Dustin Samples' name, he was a fireman in Cleveland and Tennessee. And he had suffered from a post-traumatic stress syndrome from a work-related issue, and he actually committed suicide as a result of that. And part of that was the barriers that exist now for firefighters to receive this care as it relates to something that they have seen or have cared for someone in the line of their duty as they try to save us when we are in some sort of peril. And I would encourage you that his widow, I believe her first name is Jennifer. I hope I'm not destroying Jennifer's first name. I'm getting thumbs up in the crowd. She testified at the full committee that this was from, and that testimony was powerful. And I want to just highlight one of the things that she said that struck me in her testimony. There were several people that testified at that committee, but hers were the ones that left with me from that committee, is that her daughter wants to follow the footsteps of her father and become a firefighter. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing. But of course, it is time now that we take care of those that take care of us. So I'm honored today to describe what this legislation does. See, if a firefighter runs to a car wreck, and in a car wreck, you stumble upon a family and you've got a young girl, young boy, or even the parents that are just destroyed physically from this particular accident, and a fireman approaches that particular accident and they have some sort of mental issues from that accident, the way our current law is now is that that's not presumed work related in their line of work. And actually, it's worse than that. It sounds a lot worse than that. Firefighters have to prove that it's part and that it's related to a specific incident, and that particular incident that they happen to come upon on any wreck that they do probably 4 or 5 times a day, that they have to prove that that incident is part of their injury. So then they have to admit in a public forum like this that they are suffering from some sort of mental issue as they go and save us to try to save our lives, and they see just body parts that are everywhere. And that's not the way it should be. That's not the way it should be when we ask these folks to go to these accidents and try to recover from that, to not only do it again when that bell rings, when that call comes in. These folks don't hesitate. They'll go do it again. They don't know that they're going to have the same thing happen to them. So when they have multiple incidents like this, our current law says they've got to say it's this one on this date that I'm suffering from. And I don't know who can do that. I don't know how it can prove that that particular incident takes place. So what this legislation does is that it automatically makes incidents like that I've just described, that the presumption exists that it's part of their work. And so then they can get the necessary coverages to allow them to deal with an incident that is so unimaginable to us, so they can continue with their jobs day in and day out. Because some of them, as kids, most kids that I see, they see a fireman, they see a Dalmatian, they want to become a firefighter, right? I mean, or a policeman. I mean, that's kind of the uniforms. Y'all's uniforms are cool, you know. They like that. We've got to harbor that ability to become a fireman or a police officer, serve in the military, right? And so we've met with our governor, who is open to this legislation. But I do know, Mr. Chairman, that you have those famous words that once this legislation is up for a vote, that most likely will go behind the budget. And I wish for once you might be able to say go in front of the budget, but I know that would wreak havoc in front of this committee today. But I want to say thank you to all of those that have sponsored this legislation. And I'm slacking in the Senate. The Senate has every single Senate member as a sponsor on this legislation, all 33. We have, I think, over 90 on this in the House as sponsors today. So I implore you to with me, let's get behind this legislation. We've gotten the fiscal note down pretty significantly from last year, which was about $4.5 million, and we've worked to get it under $1 million this year. We do think we have an avenue to get this funded. So I implore you to get behind this, and let's take care of those that take care of us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Representative Garrett. Very well done. Very well said. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Chairman Whitson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Representative Garrett, this is a great bill that you're carrying, and proud to be a co-sponsor on it. In 2017, we passed legislation to help our firefighters by increasing the number of counseling sessions for PTSD. But during that discussion, one firefighter made a comment that's really resonated, is that these gentlemen and ladies out here will go on thousands of calls in their years of service, but they'll remember 4 or 5 of them. And I compliment you, and we look forward to getting this legislation through. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Whitson. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative, for bringing the bill as well. This is one of these times when we can look back in history and see how the Budget Finance Committee, the Finance Subcommittee, would really coalesce around a particular issue or public policy that we believe everyone can benefit from. And I think that this is one of those times when, although this bill is going to go behind the budget, we will deliberate on all of those bills that are back there. But this is one that I believe should bubble to the top, because we will decide to fund some of these bills from behind the budget. And this is one that I think that all the members on the committee could coalesce behind, just looking at the list of people that have signed on to the bill. So I'm encouraged by that, and I think that that's something we can get done this year. We all know it's worthy of being done, And so I support the legislation, and I'll do what I can to help Mr. Sponsor, to work with the chairmen and the governor and everybody to try to get this final piece done, get us over the finish line with our firefighters. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Leader Camper. Members, further discussion? Seeing none, there are those times where you have to say those famous words, even though you really don't want to, but we're not saying no. I think you see that this legislation is certainly a priority, not only in the House, but also the Senate. So, and I'm proud to see that. So I'm going to say if there's a short distance, that's right. It'll be a short distance behind the budget, but with if there are no objections, we're going to put House Bill 976 very shortly behind the budget without objection. So seeing none, House Bill 976 goes behind the budget. Thank you. All right. Item number 33 is House Bill 610 by Chairman Hawk.
Thank you.
You got a motion? Second, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, insurance riders pay $1.13 billion in premium taxes. What House Bill 610 will do is provide domestic insurers with a premium tax credit for the cost of a mandatory financial examination that they now have to have from the Department of Financial Institutions. I know there's a fiscal note on here, and we're about to hear those famous words on this one as well, but I think there have been some concerns expressed that removing this would be a disincentive to record keeping and bookkeeping, and although I don't see that because these insurers are going to keep tremendous records of everything that they do, and their audits are always mostly coming back good, but if there's some way we could match this with a clean audit, potentially to address the situation, I would be willing to have the conversation with the administration on this. But I do note that it has been flagged for its fiscal impact, but I think that this is certainly some way that an industry that pays $1.13 billion into our general fund, we're looking to return about 0.1% of that to insurers and get that back into the hands of eventually us who buy those insurance policies. That's what the bill does in a nutshell, Chairman and members.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Hawk. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Seeing none, as the sponsor has alluded to, there is a cost associated with House Bill 610, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 610 goes behind the budget. All right, it brings us to item number 34 on our calendar. Item number 34 is going to be House Bill 1079 by Representative Shaw. You got a motion to second, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. This is probably one of the best community and economic development bills that you've heard in a long time. In fact, it will either directly or indirectly affect all the firefighters that's involved in here. And this bill actually affects about 6 different cities in the state of Tennessee. It is called the Downtown Redevelopment Grant. It affects Bolivar, City of Dayton, Livingston, Loudoun, Ripley, and Winchester. And this, of course, this grant is now being ministered to all of these areas as we go along. And it's been so successful for these cities in their planning and getting things done on the local level, as well as providing jobs and putting facades on buildings in the downtown area and all. We are asking for it to extend, actually to take off the end date of the grant that we now get. What we're asking for is this to remain permanent for these cities. And I do have, of course, I've got some of the members to sign on, but my sign-on sheet is not full, so you're going to find that before this bill ends, if it could move out or go behind the budget, that all of the legislators and senators from these areas will be signing on to this legislation for the purpose of continuing this successful endeavor for these cities. It has been well organized and has been no findings from the comptroller about any funds being misused in any way. It not only provides downtown redevelopment, but it's also provided jobs for local people in these local communities. And it's just been an all-around success, and we'd like to take the end date off of that grant and continue this for the purpose of planning and the future growth of these cities. And with that in mind, I'd ask for your mercy.
All right. Thank you, Representative Shaw, for this description. Members, any discussion? Chairman Whitson.
Again, thank you, and thank you, Representative Shaw, for bringing this. Over the past 2 years, I went to all 95 counties and took pictures of the courthouses. There are some courthouses and squares in our town or in our state that need help and to sustain that. And I think this is a great way to do that. Historic preservation, preserving these downtown areas. I just want to compliment you for that beautiful downtown you have in Bolivar, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Whitson. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Just a question for the sponsor. These are 6 municipalities that currently have this grant. Are there other municipalities in the state that have had these grants in the past that have completed them? Are there other municipalities that could or would apply? So, in addition to these 6, what other, for lack of a better term, what other can of worms are we opening with this legislation?
Well, I don't think there's been another. When this was created back years ago, it was where I don't remember exactly what year it was. ECD selected these cities because of their community and economic development issues at that time. And it's just been an ongoing grantee for these cities ever since then. I don't know how they applied. I apologize. I can't tell you how they applied. I was here at the time, but I don't know what the criteria was. But these were the 6 cities that qualified for these grants at that particular time. Excuse me. And of course, they've been on and on ever since then. I hope that helped you, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. It's just my concern would be there are probably other cities in the state that, might feel that they could benefit from these same kinds of funding from the state. So I'm glad that it's worked out well. I was working in ECD, I think, when some of these grants were handed out. So as Chairman Whitson says, we have some county seats in the state that need a lot of work and hopefully they're making progress. But again, I'm just trying to see what other communities might want to have the same sort of deal, if you will. So that's my only question and concern, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Representative Shaw.
I do know it is a tax shared program because, of course, the economic and community development of these downtown areas are producing more taxes, and that means more taxes do come back to the state. But to know why these were the 6 that were recognized and got the grants, Madam Chair, I could try to find out, but I really don't have that information right here. Yeah.
Chair Lady. Good. All right. Further discussion on House Bill 1079. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1079, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1079 moves on to full finance. All right, members, I think we completed our calendar for the day. Do we have any other business coming before the committee? Seeing none, without objection, we stand adjourned.